Here's the regression procedure in SAS. It's pretty easy. So if I have this data set, and I've got a few continuous variables in here like cholesterol levels and white blood cells. So the actual procedure is right here. It's not too bad. So what comes first is the y variable in the model statement. So your model is y equals, and then you list your x variables. For a simple linear regression, you only have one x. We've got x1, x2, and x3 with no interaction here. If you want to run an interaction, just put a star between two different variables. So you might want to run, say, x1, x2, and then the interaction would be x1 star x2 if you want to run a model with an interaction. So one thing that I want to do right here, though, is run separate regression procedures on the two races. Again, you have to run a proc sort by race before you run any kind of by statement in a procedure. And then I'm going to run separate regression procedures for each race. Here's race equals 0. There's a regression. The intercept, this is the beta 0 hat. This is the beta cholesterol hat, beta income hat, and so on. And these are their t values in this column, and p values are over here. And then you have a separate regression for race equals 1. If you have a data set with multiple points in the same row in your original data set, so for example, I have at x1 equals 1 and y equals 1, I have 15 points on top of each other right there. And I didn't want to have to write in 15 lines of code to write 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 15 times. So I just put the 15 here. That's the number of observations. You might be familiar with using the wait statement in other places, but be careful in the regression procedure. We're not going to use wait. We're going to say freak. So, in other words, short for frequency. So the number of observations, that's how many points I have at that point right there in the data set. I have 15 1-1s on top of each other. We're going to use the frequency is that variable. And then we're going to have a model statement. So that's your syntax for that. Another thing that you can do in the regression procedure is you can run a basic plot statement if you want to plot two things together. Unfortunately, when you bring this up, it won't plot another variable as the plot character when it does this G-plot. This is essentially a G-plot. It brings up the graph window. So if you want that other variable, the age group, to be plotted as the character, you need to run a separate proc plot. So now I have age group as the value of the symbol that it's plotting. Another thing you can do is overlay two different plots. So if I want to plot glucosamine by two different variables at the same time and put them on the same axes, I can use this overlay statement. I'm plotting them with different symbols to make sure I keep the two plots a little bit separate. So if I look at the plot, now I have two different symbols used for the two different variables.